The Gender Mainstreaming Evaluation Framework. Chapter 1. Gender Mainstreaming as a Strategy to Achieve Women's Empowerment and Gender Equality. With the milestone passage of Republic Act 9710, or the Magna Carta of Women, gender mainstreaming as a strategy became an integral part of the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of policies and programs of government agencies as well as local government units. But what is gender mainstreaming? Imagine yourself in the middle of a stream. The view is perfect and convenient if you are at the center, giving you a complete view of your whole environment. Same with the concept of gender mainstreaming. Gender issues and concerns of both women and men must be put at the center instead of remaining on the sidelines to fully address them. That means we must bring our efforts to achieve gender equality into the mainstream decision-making criteria and processes and pursue them from the center rather than the margins. To put it simply, gender mainstreaming is a strategy to make women's as well as men's concerns and experiences an integral dimension of policies and programs in all social, political, civil, and economic spheres. Remember, gender mainstreaming is not just about adding a women's component into an existing activity. It goes beyond increasing women's participation. It means bringing the experience, knowledge, and interests of women and men on the development agenda. It may require changes in goals, strategies, and actions so that both women and men can influence, participate in, and benefit from development processes. The ultimate goal of gender mainstreaming is to achieve women's empowerment and gender equality.
Chapter 2. Overview of the GEMF tool. In order to determine the progress of agencies in gender mainstreaming, the PCW developed the Gender Mainstreaming Evaluation Framework, or GEMF tool, in 1996. In 2014, the PCW embarked on the process of updating the GEMF tool. The enhancement process served as an opportunity to apply the valuable experiences of PCW and its partners in gender mainstreaming. It also took into account the relevant provisions of the Magna Carta of Women and noteworthy GAD efforts that are now being recognized as standard gender mainstreaming practices. The enhanced GEMF now contains updated descriptors and scoring system. It features 5 levels of gender mainstreaming instead of 4, and generates results that will assist organizations in locating and responding to gender gaps and needs of clients and the organization. As a self-assessment tool, the ultimate goal of the regular application of the GEMF tool is to make gender perspective an integral part of the mainstreaming processes and systems of government. This is to ensure that the impacts of government programs are enjoyed by both WANAs and WANs equally.
Chapter 3. Levels of Gender Mainstreaming. How can the agency determine if they're faring well in gender mainstreaming? The enhanced GMEF identified 5 levels of gender mainstreaming. Foundation formation, installation of strategic mechanisms, GAD application, commitment enhancement and institutionalization, and replication and innovation. Level 1. Foundation formation. The organization's level of gender awareness is first heightened by raising people's awareness through capacity development sessions on GAD and generating support for gender mainstreaming. In this level, it is important to establish these 4 GAD essential elements: creation and strengthening of the GAD focal point system, building the organization's capabilities on understanding GAD, conducting leveling sessions or orientation sessions on the application of gender analysis tools, collection of the sex disaggregated data and gender-related information relevant to its mandate and clients. Level 2. Installation of strategic mechanisms. This level marks the transition of the organization toward gender mainstreaming by creating enabling conditions supportive of GAD, such as putting in key people, issuance and updating of policies, support structures, systems and mechanisms to facilitate and sustain gender mainstreaming, as well as evidence of initial application of GAD concepts and tools. The GAD mechanisms may include the following: Level 3. GAD Application. In this level, GAD-related activities are already institutionalized. Interventions are usually based on a strategic GAD agenda that guides the organization's GAD planning and budgeting implementation. The agency's GAD plan and budget is now more strategic, which results in either increased attribution of the GAD budget and/or more gender-responsive programs. In this level, agency GAD efforts are able to produce intended or desired impact on women empowerment, wherein gender equality is integrated and consolidated, and sustain GAD intervention, perspective, or core messages in the mainstream projects or programs. Level 4. Commitment Enhancement and Institutionalization. At this level, the organization has already institutionalized gender mainstreaming in all aspects of its operations, programs, and projects. This level also challenges organizations to continuously monitor, evaluate, and improve their efforts. And lastly, Level 5. Replication and Innovation. The enhanced GMEF included this level to recognize notable GAD accomplishments of organizations. This level indicates that GAD has been fully mainstreamed into the mandate of the organization and is being recognized and replicated by others as a standard in gender mainstreaming. The enhanced GMF expanded the descriptor matrix by providing a visual progression of the gender mainstreaming efforts of an organization from Level 1 to Level 5. The descriptor matrix consists of 93 descriptors distributed into 4 GMF entry points.
Chapter 4, GMEF Entry Points. Let's discuss the 4 entry points to ensure gender mainstreaming in an organization. First is policies. It refers to the official statements and pronouncements of support for gender mainstreaming issued by the organization. Through these issuances, the organization shows its recognition and acceptance of gender equality goal as a critical and legitimate concern in broad or general terms. Remember, use of gender-fair language and images in GAD-related policies and plans is a must for a gender-responsive organization. Second is people. Mainstreaming gender in development is not possible without people supporting and advocating for it, right? So who are these people? Critical to the success of gender mainstreaming are the GAD champions among top management. The organization should also establish a GAD focal point system that will lead its gender mainstreaming efforts and will serve as GAD experts. The organization must also ensure that its internal and external clients are able to participate in the planning, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation of GAD programs, activities, and projects. Yes, GAD is a participatory process. The third entry point is the enabling mechanisms. What will ensure that gender mainstreaming will be operationalized in an organization? The success of any gender mainstreaming effort depends, to a large extent, on the resources allocated and the mechanisms that are institutionalized to implement it. Some examples of enabling mechanisms include the functionality of the GAD focal point system, presence and use of knowledge management system and GAD database, and partnership building or external linkages with other organizations to implement GAD programs. This entry point should also look into the institutional compliance to the minimum 5% allocation and utilization of GAD budget of the organization. And lastly, the Programs, Activities, and Projects, or PAPs. This refers to flagship programs, activities, and projects that serve as a strategic entry point to mainstream gender perspective in the organization. PAPs is the most practical entry point, since it involves the actual implementation of the mandate of an organization. Organizations may apply gender analysis tools such as the Harmonized Gender and Development Guidelines to assess gender-responsive mainstreaming through PAPs. Examples of PAPs are contained in the Program Expenditure Classification Outcomes and Strategic Plans of the organization.
Chapter 5. Discussion of GMEF Descriptors and MOVs. Let us now discuss the GMEF descriptors and its corresponding means of verification per level. The policy descriptor matrix tracks the progress of an organization's efforts in integrating GAD in its plans and policy issuances. At Level 1, organizations issue policies supporting the elements of GAD planning and budgeting. review existing policies to ensure consistency with new GAD issuances, and issue documents to support attendance to GAD-related events. At Level 2, the focus is on policy enhancement and improvements to ensure they can address the gender needs of its internal and external clients. At Level 3, a GAD agenda or strategic framework is already adopted and implemented to ensure sustained action to mainstream GAD. At Level 4, plans and policies of the organization have already resulted in positive impacts. And finally, at Level 5, the organization's gender-responsive plans and policies are continually enhanced and used as standards by other organizations. The People Descriptor Matrix tracks the organization's progress in ensuring that its people contribute to its gender mainstreaming efforts. At Level 1, key people are designated to be part of the GFPS. Appropriate capacity development sessions on GAD are also provided to top management, GFPS, and staff members. At Level 2, the organization ensures that its program implementers are trained to do gender analysis, and clients are given opportunities to articulate their gender issues and are considered in the design of program and projects. At Level 3, top management, GFPS members, and program implementers are consciously integrating gender perspective in the organization's regular operations. At Level 4, the organization's GAD champions are able to develop GAD-related tools customized to the mandate of the organization and tapped as GAD resource person within their organization. And at Level 5, organization GAD champions are already recognized by other organizations, and its top management are able to raise GAD concerns during high-level meetings. The Enabling Mechanism Descriptor Matrix tracks the organization's progress in ensuring that mechanisms to mainstream the gender perspective are established and fully functional. At Level 1, the organization has established or reconstituted its GFPS as a catalyst for gender mainstreaming. It is also at this level where the organization conducts exploratory engagements with GAD-related institutions and experts. At Level 2, other GAD mechanisms to address the needs of the organization's internal and external clients are established, and there is a marked increase in the utilization of the GAD budget. At Level 3, the organization judiciously utilizes more than the minimum 5% GAD budget allocation, while boasting of a fully functioning M&E system and knowledge management system. At Level 4, the organization's enabling mechanisms can now track the desired gender-related impacts and are able to produce GAD-related knowledge products. And at Level 5, the enabling mechanisms are recognized as models by other organizations, and the total budget of the organization is fully gender-responsive. The Programs, Activities, Projects Descriptor Matrix tracks the organization's progress in mainstreaming GAD in all of its programs, activities, and projects. At Level 1, an organization has expressed initial support to gender mainstreaming through the conduct of GAD capacity development sessions. It has also involved clients to ensure that their gender issues are taken into account, and sets up a GAD corner containing GAD IEC materials. At Level 2, the organization already has a GAD agenda or strategic framework to guide its gender mainstreaming efforts. Deepening sessions for GFPS members and concerned staff members are also conducted, especially on the application of gender analysis tools. Lastly, IEC materials are customized for the organization's use, and a GAD section in the website is planned or set up. At Level 3, the organization ensures that the implementation of its GAD PAPs are monitored. External clients are also capacitated through relevant GAD sessions. Finally, a knowledge management system to ensure the transfer of knowledge on GAD is set up. At Level 4, the organization ensures that monitoring of its GAD PAPs is sustained and its impacts evaluated. Sector-specific GAD capacity development sessions for both internal and external clients are also conducted, as well as periodic application and reapplication of gender analysis tools. A sustainability action plan for gender mainstreaming is also developed. And finally, at Level 5, the organization is now recognized as a learning hub for its noteworthy GAD efforts. GAD knowledge products and IEC materials produced by the organization are also utilized by other organizations as references or models to develop their own GAD-related materials. The complete list of possible means of verification can be found in the GMEF Handbook.
Chapter 6. Guide for Administering the GMF Tool. As a self-assessment tool, it is expected that the application of GMF tool will involve the whole organization. Members of the organization's GAD focal point system should lead the conduct of GMF assessment. Other key technical officers working on GAD mainstreaming should also participate, as well as any staff member from relevant offices who can facilitate accomplishing the tool, such as program implementers or service providers. Representatives from regional offices may be invited during the GMF assessment, while attached agencies, especially those with mandates that are different from the central office, are expected to conduct a separate GMF assessment for their agency. The agency should establish the timeline of the assessment process. The GMF tool should be disseminated to the administering team. This will enable them to prepare corresponding means of verification or supporting documents needed for the assessment. The agency may group together relevant offices or units to accomplish a specific questionnaire most relevant to their functions. Each group may report its consolidated ratings for further discussion and enhancement. The group must agree on the answer for each item. The GFPS may set a deadline for the submission of incomplete or additional MOVs to complete the GMF assessment. Once the GMF assessment is done, the GFPS members should ensure that all MOVs are properly secured as reference for their next assessment. Let's now proceed on how to accomplish the individual assessment questionnaires. There are 4 sets of GMF organizational questionnaires representing each entry point. Each has a maximum score of 25 points, divided by the number of questions per sublevel. The 4 organizational assessment questionnaires will yield a maximum score of 100 points. The questionnaire contains the following columns. Descriptor refers to the series of questions to assess whether an organization has complied with a gender mainstreaming element in the GMF tool. Questions in the organizational assessment questionnaires vary in number per entry point. Score. This column shows all possible scoring options for the descriptors, as no, partly yes, and yes. It also includes criteria for the proper assessment or rating for each question. Score per item. The organization should write the score or rating per question in this column. At the end of every sublevel, a subtotal GMF score should be indicated. Means of verification or remarks. The last column identifies the required MOVs to validate the score or rating for each question. It also contains additional questions to substantiate or justify the score or rating received. Let's try answering the first indicator for policy entry point. If the agency has issued policies articulating support to all 4 essential elements of GAD planning and budgeting, then it gets a yes and should indicate 1.67 in the score per item column. Note that each descriptor has different rating scales with total maximum score of 25 points. Let's also try answering one of the indicators for people entry point. If only selected members of the top management attended, the organization gets partly yes, and 0.41 should be indicated in their score per item column. As a means of verification, the organization needs to list down top management officials who attended. Here's a sample descriptor for the Enabling Mechanism Entry Point Questionnaire. If the organization utilized 5% or less of total budget to implement GAD PAPs, then it gets a score of partly yes, and 0.5 should be indicated in the score per item column. The organization should then attach the GPB and GAD AR of the same fiscal year. Lastly, Programs, Activities, Projects Entry Point Questionnaire. If the impact assessment of GAD PAPs is still ongoing, the organization gets a partly yes, and 0.5 should be indicated in the score per item column. The organization should attach a copy of the Gender Impact Assessment Report of the organization's GAD PAPs. If there are indicators that are not applicable to the agency, indicate not applicable in the score per item column. This will not be considered in the total GMF score. However, don't forget to specify in the remarks column why the indicator is not applicable. Some documents may be used as MOV for more than one item. All scores for each level should be added at the subtotal GMF score rows. To get the total GMF score per entry point, add all the scores in the subtotal GMF score rows. Remember to transfer all the scores to the GMF score sheet and add the 4 total scores to come up with the overall GMF score. The scores obtained in the assessment will determine the level of gender mainstreaming efforts of an organization. Descriptors with yes responses are the strong points of the organization. It should maximize these strong points to hasten the institutionalization of GAD and target interventions to sustain efforts on gender mainstreaming. Meanwhile, descriptors with no and partly yes responses are areas for improvement. The organization should analyze the facilitating and hindering factors and target interventions to further improve its overall level of gender mainstreaming. For example, under the PAP's entry point, the organization has not developed GAD orientation module with gender sensitivity as a core competency. The gender issue may be the limited awareness among HR staff to integrate GAD core messages in existing modules for new employees. The results of the GMF assessment can serve as important inputs in the preparation and enhancement of the organization's GAD agenda, which is the basis in the annual formulation of the GAD plan and budget. Agencies may re-administer the GMF organizational assessment questionnaires after a specified period of time to keep track of the progress of its GAD mainstreaming efforts. It is important to remember that agencies are not required to submit their GMF ratings to PCW for validation. However, they are encouraged to inform PCW of their GMF assessment results.
PCW hopes that government agencies shall use the GMF to know the status of their gender mainstreaming efforts and further guide them to advance gender and development in their respective organizations. Let's continue to champion women's empowerment and gender equality. For more information, visit www.pcw.gov.ph.